we're bringing this panel to you guys today to showcase and talk to many of our young artists. This is the Young Artists Committee panel but it's made up of members of our guild that work in our industry and bring all of these visual elements to life. So for the filmmakers that are here today, some of you may have done work with members that are in our crafts, art directors, graphic designers, illustrators, concept illustrators, and possibly even a scenic artist. But anytime you have a visual style in a film, an artwork, it's usually done by one of our members, especially if it's on one of the major films. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce our panel. I will go one by one, and then you all can come up here. And I really encourage everybody to absorb and see how this fits in with your filmmaking process. Afterwards, I don't know if you're going to take questions or whatnot, but feel free to ask questions if that's possible, and soak in as much from these unique artists as possible. So first, I would like to invite our moderator, Mr. Wade Morrison. He's art director. Are you from Los Angeles originally?
No. I grew up about halfway between Chicago and St. Louis, a town called Springfield, Illinois. You would have learned it when you memorized state capitals and then promptly forgot it because who needs that information? I came here after college and have been here for about 15 years now.
Excellent. Well, have a seat, and we'll invite our next person up. Next person, Vanessa Plaza Lasso. Yeah, go ahead and have a seat. I'll name everybody, and we'll I will invite Rashi. What's your last name, Rashi? Jane? Okay, Rashi Jane. Miranda Christophany, right? Did I pronounce it? What? Ding! After all these years. And I always say it Christophany, but today I said it wrong. Sarah Gonzalez. And Astrid Anderson. So after introducing this entire panel, I'm going to hand it over to Wade so that way he can moderate and ask questions and let you all get to know what our unique artists do. Here you go, Wade.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this panel on the best department in filmmaking. I'm a little biased because it's what I do, but it's what I believe. I'm going to start with each of our panelists with just a quick, how did you get where you are? Since, like many artists, we all have very different paths to how we got where we are. Even though we're all in relatively similar places, we have very different paths there. So how did you get here?
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name's Miranda Christophany, and I'm a production designer, art director. I also sit on the board, and I'm a trustee at the Art Directors Guild. I've been doing this I've been in the local union, IATSC, for about 22 years now. And I transitioned over from being an art department coordinator, Local 871, into Local 800 about 11 years ago. However, I started those many, many years ago as a PA. I've been an artist my whole life. I went to Cal State Long Beach, got a degree in my bachelor's in fine arts in drawing and painting. I have a family that is a long litany of artists and architecture, and all of my family, I had that in my blood and my background. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do starting out, but I got in as a PA, worked my little butt off, and found that I really had an affinity with the art department, and that was going to be my home. And as an artist, once I moved in there, it was just like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. And then I worked my way up, like really worked very hard. I mostly work in commercials. I now do film. But that's how I got started. I mean, I really had someone that trusted in me. I had a mentor that kind of took me under my wing, took me under his wing. And I was able to learn things and also just move up that way. I'm very grateful to have that opportunity. So that's how I started. Thank you.
Hi, I am Rashi. I am from India. I did architecture back home because I was good at drawing. And that was at that moment, I was like, I don't want to study science and I don't want to do maths. So I did architecture, was interning at a construction firm. And I think for the first 6 months of my internship, we would just, I redid about 20 different toilets because commercials in commercial buildings and in, when you're doing a hotel, the one big thing is what does the common toilet look like? Or when you go into a hotel, you see how big is the toilet. So I was doing that for 6 months and I was like, not fulfilling. It doesn't it's not. And also, like, it takes time to make a building. It takes about 4 to 5 years after you're done designing to execute it. So, and I've grown up watching Bollywood. I am Bollywood, I think, a lot of times. And I heard that, oh, there's design in film as well. What does this even mean? So I interned in India. I mean, LinkedIn was how I reached out to the production designer that I worked with in India, because I don't know any other way. And she responded. I actually forgot to see her because I was like, who responds on LinkedIn? I don't know. Is this like how film professionals work? And she did respond, and I got in touch with her. I interned on a feature for 2 months, and I was doing like 16-hour days and 18-hour days, and we turned this empty apartment. We painted it, we wallpapered it, we did everything, and we took it down in a day. I was like, oh my God, we took 5 days to do this. We shot in it for 20 days, and now it's all done. But the satisfaction of seeing your work right there was where I was like, okay, I think I need to study more. I think I need to learn more. And I think in India, there is not it's not very defined. It's not you work as an intern and that's how you go up. You don't really learn in school. So then I started looking at the US. I was looking at schools in US, applied, moved here, went to CalArts, met her at CalArts. It was not a film school that I was expecting because I didn't know anybody here. So it was more of I learned painting and I learned charcoal and I learned scenic art. We had like an illustration class, and it sort of opened up so many fields that art department has. It was like, you don't really need to be a production designer. You can just draw if you're good at that and still be in the guild, and you can just paint if you're good at that, which in India it was very limited for me. I just know, okay, film and design, and here I was like, okay, there's film, there's themed entertainment, there's drawing, there's painting, there's 30 different things. So yeah, I went to CalArts and I've been here for the past 8 years now, and I love what I do. I think I did every single, again, I was interning on every single film project that I could. I was working as much as I could, trying to meet as many people as I could at that point. And I think finally I've realized what I'm good at in the art department and what I want to do. And I'm happy that I am doing what I love to do.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Plaza Lazo. I am a production designer art director as well. I'm originally from Ecuador. It's really nice to hear like the background from other colleagues as well and friends. Everybody has, as Wade said, like different paths. I have a very multicultural background as well because I grew up in Ecuador, but I went to school in Argentina. I lived there for 8 years. I started studying advertisement because Ecuador doesn't really have a huge big industry like film industry. It has a really tiny one. Argentina is one of the biggest one in South America, so I went there, and there's where I realized that there was this other world where I can produce, design. I always liked being creative, drawing and stuff like that. So when I was in Argentina, I I started getting more into the film path and stuff like that. Argentina has like a really difficult economy, and the country is living in a hard time right now. So I decided to move, looking for a different path to grow a little more in my career, and I found an opportunity to come here to US. And keep doing what I was doing because I really liked it as well. And as Rashi did, as she said, we did this very interesting program with mixed theme entertainment with art director from film, which was great because it taught us like a lot of the scenic texture, a lot of the scenic special effects and things like that that we incorporate in our designs. And it's really important to know and learn, to know the language that other departments and other that you're collaborating with, they're speaking the same language. So yeah, I've been working in our department for already like 13 years. I worked a lot in television back in Argentina. I also started as a PA with a mentor that taught me how to go and do the basic things and learning from the experiences. And now I'm here working as a production designer, art director, and yeah, looking forward for more.
Nice. Hi, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. I am a graphic designer. I work with these lovely people. I work under the production designer or the art director as part of the art department. Let's see. I went to school in Michigan. I'm from Michigan. I moved here in 2010. Went to school for advertising as well, so that's funny. But I was like, I don't want to do that. I'd always really liked doing school projects, like the creative part of school projects, where it was like, I think at one point they were like, you can either write a book report or redesign the cover of the book. And so I would be like, well, I'm going to do that one. And then even in college, like I would do these projects, and I remember they were like, oh, like we have to make a direct mail piece. Like usually it's like a coupon or a postcard. And I was like, I'm going to make a pop-up card. And then everyone in the class was like, this really? But I just like love like making things and making them like as cool as they can be, and always really creative. And so advertising in Michigan, it's like you either there's a track that you do, which is you're a copywriter, or an art director, which is funny because it's the same term, totally different thing. And an art director is like you come up with the campaigns and you do the magazine advertisements, but it's really, really hard. Not like I picked something that wasn't hard instead, but it's really hard because you have to go to portfolio school. You really have to commit. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. So I realized that I always we were a big TV family. We would like watch TV as we ate dinner together. Like we always were going to movies. It was just like a big part of our family. And I was like, well, maybe like that could be cool, but I thought it was super impossible. But then I had some friends who lived in LA, and they were like, oh, you would really like it here. It's like nice weather and you can try, which is just crazy. I was like, no way, that's impossible. And then I thought about it and I visited, and I was like, okay, this seems cool. Like maybe I should just try. Why not? And so I knew nobody. There was one girl I went to high school with that was a few years younger than me that had moved to LA right after school. And I saw on Facebook that she was an intern on some MTV scripted show. So I sent her a Facebook message and I was like, hi, what are you doing? That's so cool. How'd you get your job? Like, how do I do what you're doing and stuff? And she was like, first of all, I am nobody. She was an office PA, which you have no authority to do anything. You're getting coffees. You're not hiring people. But she was like, but the production designer seems really stressed out. So let me just send me your resume and I'll just give it to her just in case if, they need to hire somebody. And so I did. And I was like, she called right away and was like, listen, you're really overqualified because you have a college degree, but I just really need help. And I was like, I'll be there. And I went and it was this MTV show with puppets and it was so fun. And I was just so happy to be on set. And I was like, there's free food. This is crazy. I would load, I made friends with the caterers. They'd give me to-go boxes. I'd load up like crazy stuff for dinner. It was insane. I was like, this is the life. And so, yeah, I worked, and I think that like I was just like, I'll be there. And I was there for like 2 weeks, and I learned so much. And she was just like, I worked with this production designer, and she was like, here's how we do this. Oh, I need you to do receipts. Here's how you do that. And like the things that she asked me to do were like, being an art PA is nuts. The things that you have to find, figure out, like it's I remember, like, I always tell the story because this was my introduction into the art department. They're like, we need you to find a x-ray of an orangutan chest. And with stuff that's like, you can Google it, but you have to have something that's like allowed to be used. You can't just like find something on the internet. It also has to look like kind of real. So I was like, okay, where do I start? What do I do? And everybody was like, I don't know, that's your job. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? Sorry, I also like talk a lot. Just like poke me if you need me to stop. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, where do I find one? Maybe people in LA have like exotic pets. Like, people are crazy here. Maybe like they got a pet. So I was like, let me call an exotic pet store. So I call this exotic pet store, and I'm like, okay, do you guys have like x-rays of an orangutan that like somebody brought in? I don't know, like Bubbles the chimp might have had one at some point. And they were like, ooh, actually they're covered under HIPAA laws. So we can't, even if we do have it, we can't release that information to you. And I'm like, oh my, how am I, like, I'm like 25 years, I'm like, my job is on the line. But so I was like, all right, okay, new plan. What else can we do? Also, it's like I had to do this in like 5 days. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? Next thing I do is I'm like, okay, I'll call a zoo. So I call like a zoo. I think like I called like the San Diego Zoo, like medical department, something. I eventually did get one. They were like, we have them for our animals. We can send one to you for free, which was amazing. So I did it. And that was like, just the feeling of like figuring out an impossible challenge is like insane. So I was hooked. And anyways, I did RPA as much as I could wherever I could find work. And I was always just so happy to be on set and was like, what's your job? Like that little kid that's like, oh, tell me about your job. What's your favorite project? How long have you been doing this? That's so cool, sound guy. And so I was just like always around everybody. And then I slowly figured out what the different jobs are, what the hierarchy. I was like, oh, I definitely want to stay in the art department. And then I would have to like send files or pick up stuff for the graphic designer. And I was like, oh, that's the thing that I want to do. I was like, I just want to do that thing. And I did. I like shopped for commercials. Sorry, I keep touching you. I did everything. And I was like, oh, at first I was like, I want to be a production designer. And then I did like a student film, and I was like, this is too much pressure. I don't want to do that. I don't need to like pick out curtains. And then also, as when you're doing super low budget stuff, a very good skill is taking something out of the packaging, keeping the packaging, re-putting it back into the package so that you can return it for the money. And also, there's a maximum at stores that you can return. Yeah, Home Depot is like random. Target, like they don't. IKEA is not a fan. Yeah, they know that we are notorious. We are on lists. Yeah, Amazon, so easy. But yeah, so I did all those things, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And then I came back to just graphic design, and I was like, this is what I like. So I got really lucky. I got to work with some friends on some independent movies, and they trusted me to do a good job. So I started saying, hey, I actually also did props for a second. And then I was like, I definitely don't want to do that. Because like graphic design, part of the things that you're making is for props. So I work with the prop department now. They're like, hey, we need these books. And I'm like, I will design them for you. But I used to think that was like your job as a prop master. I was like, oh, I'm the prop master. I'm in charge of the books. I have to also design the books. But then I quickly learned that was not the case, because as a prop master, you're also in charge of like the cups on the table, and also the silverware and the napkins and the microphones. And it's like, I'm like, ugh, again, too much pressure. I'm a very forgetful person. So I'm like, I forgot to get cups. I have water and coffee, and I didn't get cups. So that was not for me. So anyways, long story long. I love graphic design. I came all the way back around to graphic design after doing all the other things, but it was very helpful because now I know what everyone's job is, and I think that makes me better. But yeah, and then I thanks. Yeah, sorry. I told you I talk a lot. But yeah, and then me and my friends kind of all got into the union at the same time. I told them, hi, I just like want to do graphic design, and they were like, okay, cool, you can do that now. So that's how I got my credits. And then every time you work with people, it's like you're working with a team of people. So if you impress that team of people, like 3 of those people will pass your name on, and it's just like your network just grows and grows and grows. And yeah, so I grew my network, and now I've been here for 14 years, and that's it.
Hello. My name is Astrid Anderson. Oh my gosh. Beautiful stories, everybody. I'm like trying to recollect because I went to film school like 15 years ago. But yeah, I guess a background would be that I grew up like always making and crafting. My family is Mexican and Peruvian, and I grew up doing like a lot of carpentry, a lot of sewing, painting, like everything was DIY before DIY was even a term. Like you just did everything yourself. So I definitely knew that I had like busy hands. I was an only child, so like I definitely wanted to work somewhere where I could just like make something, constantly be challenged. And I decided on a whim to follow this like crazy dream of going to film school because I grew up in LA. I'm from East LA. And even though like the film industry was in our backyard, no one that I grew up with even thought of it as like a real career because it just felt like so like that's like in its own bubble. But I figured like I'm 18, like I have all the time in the world to fail. Like I could reinvent myself like 20 times from here, and I was like, why not? So I went for it, and when I went to film school, first I looked at like different UCs and realized that production design is not a major. And you'd have to do like interior design and like with maybe the focus in like architecture. And I remember being like, interior design, I don't want to decorate. I don't want to just look at curtains and stuff. But interior design is actually very, very cool. But at the time, I was like, no, I want to work somewhere with like just focus on storytelling and like, set design or something. And so I found like a little trade school in Hollywood that was like an 18-month program, which is truly all I could afford anyways. I was like waitressing on the weekends and nights. So I remember thinking like, I don't even know that I could afford to go to a 4-year program because I have to like, make enough to actually like pay rent, and I have to pay for the school myself. So I was like, this might be my one shot at it. And I guess I got like pretty lucky because nobody in my program wanted to be a production designer. So when it came around to like doing all the projects, they were like, okay, you guys are gonna make your thesis film. And like, it was kind of the Wild West. Like anybody could make a thesis film. You didn't have to get chosen. So then of course, everybody wanted to be a director, right? Like everyone's like, I'm here, I'm gonna be a director for sure. So, Astrid's the only production designer. So I did like 1 billion thesis films, and they're students. So they're like really ambitious. They're like, we want a cave. And then another one person's like, this is a 1940s set. Like this is a like period piece, like every crazy like I called it like art department boot camp because these people were like, I have $2. Can you build me a space shuttle? And I was like, cool. I'm a masochist. Let's do it. Like, I was so obsessive with it. And it was like all I thought about and all I ever wanted to do. So I like felt like I lived at the film school. Like I truly like, I had like a little studio apartment in Koreatown and took the train there. And I felt like I truly was like, I might as well just get a cot and sleep here because I was like always building sets. So luckily though, like by the time I graduated, I had like a really impressive portfolio because I was like, yes, I will build you that space shuttle, and I don't know how I'm gonna make it look good, but I'm gonna cry to my production design teacher and be like, you need to teach me scenic painting as well because I can't afford any of these textures. So I'm gonna, build it. I'm gonna paint it, and so I graduated with a portfolio that made it seem like I had been a production designer for a really long time because I had like all these period piece films and like all these sets that I built and designed. So I just kind of ran with that, and people were like, fake it till you make it. And I was like 20 years old by the time I was like in the industry. Like I say that with quotation marks because you're hustling and you're just begging people to hire you. Which I had to explain to my mom like what interning was. And back then, like most of them were unpaid. So my mom was like, you're working for free? And she's like an immigrant, so she's like, what is this? This sounds illegal. She's like, I don't think that this is not okay. And I was like, and then I had to explain to her, like, there's people that apply for these interning programs and they don't get chosen. And she's like, ay Dios mío, like that sounds so sad. Like, you're begging to work for free and you don't get chosen? And she's like, she's like, do something else. But, so yeah, I hustled for a really long time, and like, I guess like full circle is because of my like culture that I got me into production design and wanting to like tell stories in a very particular, like brightly colorful, saturated way that I got from like, like my tias and my moms and the way they decorate their homes. And like, I just really wanted to see, especially too, like Latino representation in media, and see that the homes and like everything was done, I don't know, through a proper lens. Like, not that somebody like Googled my culture and then they were like, yes, colorful. Like, like I wanted to do it right. So that full circle, I work on a lot of like Latino-centric commercials now, and I got into the union because of a Hot Cheetos commercial, which was like the biggest flex for to be a Latina from East LA and working on a Hot Cheetos commercial. That was like, I know. I'm very successful. So that was like the only time my cousins were ever impressed with anything I've ever done. Yeah. So that, it took about, maybe 12 years to join. I was on that commercial that flipped. Actually, my rep is here, Jeff. He hit me up and he's like, hey. And I was like, what? At first I was like, this is a scam. And I was like, there's no way. And I definitely wanted to, obviously, that was the end goal, to join the union. But I kept thinking, like, I also want to be good at my job. And I tell a lot of students and upcoming filmmakers, like, you will never stop learning in this, especially this department. Like, we're not like, you can't go to a camera house and like, they go to a camera house and they rent like their camera equipment and that's what they need for the job. Like, ours is never ending, and you truly, like, you only know with like experience, and you only learn too, like, where are you gonna get an orangutan x-ray? Like, now it's like maybe like 2 projects from now, truly sometimes it's like crazy. Like, there's been so many times where I was like known as the cave woman because I built so many caves. Like, the amount of times people were like, I know a girl, she can build you a cave in no time. Like, because of all the like, I have that and so many experiences of like, where can you get a speed bump for a street last minute? Like, there's so many weird things that you get requested that are from a different period that you have to fabricate, that, so yeah, I would say, like, enjoy the process, because when you're, working these crazy films, especially when you start and you're young and you're so like bushy tail, wide eye and excited to be there, like, that is a part of your journey, and it's some of the best memories you have, because once you're in the union and you have like, everyone has a proper title and you're not like the prop master, the set dresser, the graphic designer, animal wrangler, like, you never know what you're doing. You'll remember and also have a lot of respect for everybody's job, because you're like, I remember having to do your job and it's really difficult. And like, as a production designer, you are like the head of the department. So you have to oversee a lot of people. And I think like the best managers are the people who've done everything, So I always say, like, don't rush the journey, because it's a part of like your success later on. Because if I had an opportunity to join the union and had these union opportunities when I first started, I probably would have been blacklisted from how bad I was, like the opportunity would have come too soon, and I would have like messed it up because I didn't know what I know now, so yeah.
All right, and then before I ask the next question, I'll just very briefly add my background so people know. I moved out here at 22. I knew I wanted to be a designer. My journey for design actually started with Dungeons and Dragons in high school. I would draw maps, and I knew I wanted to like make cool things and build castles. I haven't done a castle yet. I've done spaceships, but I still need to do a castle. But I knew that I wanted to be a designer, so I made ends meet by being a set carpenter and doing other things while designing for free, which then led to designing on indie movies for a little bit of money, which then led to music videos, which led to music videos for like artists that I'd actually heard of. which led into commercials and eventually joining the ADG and recently becoming co-chair of the ADG's commercial committee. So as we have like lots of different backgrounds here, lots of different skill sets and paths wherever you are, if you want to be up here, you can get there. It's definitely doable. So moving on to our next thing about getting here. Once you're here, there's a lot of different skill sets that you'll need. So if anyone would like to talk about the creative skills, the social skills, and the logistical skills that come into our jobs. Big question, I know.
Anybody else want to take it? Let's see. I mean, I will start by saying it's really great to hear where everyone started. And I think there's an element of all of us that do really like to get our hands dirty, you know, have all started with like physically being in the art, you know. One of my first jobs, even as an art department coordinator, I would always, supposedly there's lines and you're not supposed to go over the lines, but I would, you know, there was like a bauble, a Christmas tree bauble that we had to put Old Navy on, and I'm like, I'll do that. And I'm there putting the glitter on the bauble, and that's the hero shot for Old Navy, you know. So our skill sets are extremely wide. I mean, you've just heard like different stories from all of us coming from lots of different backgrounds with, you know, Sarah doing everything from propping and you know, art direction and getting orangutan x-rays to building caves to, you know, to everything. So I think there's an element in most of us that have come and found our way to this guild and to this department that we have a huge amount of skill, whether that's you know, an artistic eye to know how to design and what kind of period to do or what kind of architecture to use, what the moldings are, what the fixtures should be for that time period, whether it's, you know, actually wanting to get our hands involved in hand dyeing things. Or there are some jobs where, like one of the last jobs I just did actually with Jane Fonda, I'm like, I have to do the flowers. I've got it because I know no one else. But someone else might get it right, but I know what I want. And I used to be a florist. When I was 15, that was one of my first jobs. So I was like, you know what, I've got to do the flowers. So, and she actually did mention how beautiful the flowers were. But you know, we have a lot of skills. So that being said, I mean, I think the skills are endless, and on top of that, on top of the physical skills and the artistic skills, we also have to know how to run a department. There are several people that do various different jobs, and we have to know what it is that we want and be able to communicate that effectively in order for the ship to run smoothly. You know, I like to have a really respectful crew and a really respectful workplace. So there's maintaining respect while dealing with multiple different attitudes and opinions about things. And then on the other side of things, there's, you know, in commercials, it's the clients, but in films, it's the, you know, the directors and the production and the producers and the executive producers, and how to navigate them and what they want. And you'll find, and I kind of find this a little sad to say, but a lot of things come down to money. So you'll find that money is always in the conversation somewhere, and we're always having to figure out how to do what we want and what they want for the right amount of money, and keep everybody happy and keep everybody working. So I think that's I think I hit on everything there. But yeah, so we are not only beautiful women, but we're very, very skilled in lots of different areas. So.
Well, I'll just add to her thing. I think communication, management, along with designing, I think communication, management, and respect are the three most important things, I think, all around the board. As a head of department, since you're the one communicating the most with the producers and the directors and the creative and everything, how do you do that with the money? I'm just dealing with that right now. That how do we keep the creative? How do we still make the design super cool, but you have this much money and I don't want to put my crew through. I'm always here to protect because I'm that line between my crew and the higher ups. So there's always that where how do I protect the 50 people who are working under me, because they don't understand that the person who's driving a truck is probably driving it for 16 hours and you can't make them work again immediately in the next 10 hours. And there's so many just basic logistical things where they're like, why would you need like a fourth truck to do this? Well, because you're shooting 4 back-to-back days at 4 different locations, and every location needs to be its own truck. But things like that is where a lot of logistical and money communications come in, where they're like, but you need this. I thought it would be done in this much. I'm like, no, because you don't understand how things move. So I always think that communicating immediately, like the minute you know, like there's never a bad. And again, same with the crew. I try to communicate as much with my crew, and I want them to bring in their we're all creators here, we're all here to make something cool, and it's usually we're all working to make the director's vision and add to that vision and come to life. But I think along with design, logistics is such an important part of our job, logistics and communication. And like, if you don't say that one thing that you said, put it in an email. So if they forget about it, you're like, hey, actually I said this on this day, and you probably overlooked it, because they probably would, because they get hundreds of emails. And I think the one thing that also happens with our department, which nobody understands how much work we have to do beforehand. The director's coming to set and it's all ready. The DP walks in, or the DP has the plans. Once the DP joins, they already have what they're looking at and what they're gonna have to shoot. So I think I always find it very like, not difficult. I always find it very amusing how like people just don't. You're seeing this is what you're shooting. We've made this. How are you not able to? How are you asking us the most as to, okay, where can we cut money, or where can we do this? But still, can we have this creative, or like, so I think logistical communication is a huge part of the job. And then again, like, you want to do a good job, you want to take care of your team, you also want to take care. And again, as head of department, we're always battling that fine line where we're trying to not put our team in danger, but also maintain a relationship and have a good and create something magical, because I want to create something that I'm proud of. And I always say, like, even though like the directors are much involved in the process, the producers are much involved in the money, it's my project too. You want this, but I want to make this too for you, you know? So definitely logistical communication is a skill that having that skill in communicating is very important.
Great. Yeah. I feel like it's very interesting how they put it, you know, like we have a lot of the skills, as Miranda say, but also we're expected to know how to do everything, you know, because the requests just come and we have to figure it out, you know. And even though we can be very creative, you know, and we come with certain skills, we're always learning and adding new skills to our belt, you know, because we might have to build a spaceship one time, but we don't necessarily know how they work. And we have to know how they work in order for us to communicate to who's going to build it, how we want it to be made, and like the details of the spaceship, the dashboard and everything, you know. And so there is something here that comes in our creativity, is that there's a lot of research behind it as well, where we're always and constantly learning and adding those new skills to us, because we'll figure it out, sure. But, you know, that's what makes us a little stronger. And in that sense, you know, as they were saying, you know, like, as Wade was saying, I which I agree, you know, like the art department is one of the strongest and best departments, you know. If you don't have the set, you can't really shoot, you know. So the part of us building all the skills every time, it's, you know, always keep researching a lot And with the logistical communication that Rashi was saying, I feel like there's a lot of organization, being very organized behind it, so everybody can understand the processes. And I always try to work in a certain way that if I'm not there for some reason, anybody else can take over, and understand what's happening. Because unfortunately, also nobody is indispensable here. So having the communication and also like the good vibe with your team, you're spending so many hours with these people, working for days, hours. Might as well have a lot of fun working. So, and yeah, and also that they became family. You learn a lot from them. So yeah, organization on this logistical communication, trying to have the respect and good vibe here. And yeah, all the research that we do to keep our skills fresh, and adding every time new ones to the belt. Oh yeah, you can.
I mean, you can be as prepared as you want, but it's like you never know what's coming next, and it's always something new. I'm always like, it's never boring. I mean, sometimes it is boring if you're like, oh, I have to do like all hospital wayfinding signs for like weeks. That's kind of boring, but still, it's always like you're always doing something that you haven't probably done before. And even if you have like some skills from doing something similar previously, like you're constantly learning, you're constantly like, it's always something new. But what I was going to add to what everybody said too is that it's also really important to how you handle pressure and crisis, how you treat your team underneath you, like remembering that you are all on the same team, you all have the same goal. I've worked with a range of people who like to, investigate the blame. But sometimes when things are moving fast, you're on a moving train, it's like, it's not important about why this thing went wrong. It's about how you're going to work together to fix it. And I think that the best leaders that I have worked with are, okay, that happened. How are we going to fix it? Like, what are we going to do? Here's our options. Like, let's go. It's less about, like, you can investigate what happened and why and who did it if you want to later, but it's not the important thing. The important thing is how you're going to keep this train moving and, like, what solutions you're going to come up with as a team. And I think that's, like, a really simple concept, but, like, really hard for a lot of people. And like I said, respecting your crew and just like, everyone's doing their best and you're all on a team and it's not about who did what. It's like, we got to fix this and keep going because so much stuff is always coming at you and it's never what you expect and everything changes constantly. So handling pressure and handling crisis is a really, really big part of the job for everybody.
To piggyback off of that, I think a lot of it is managing expectations, and because of the nature of how fast our job can go once you're in production, there's a lot of like hurry up and wait, but there's a lot of really high intensity moments, and I think the managing expectations of what the director wants, the production wants, the producers want, at the same time protecting your crew and being sort of always that like middleman. I think like what you said could really help create a safe space and knowing that like there's always going to be human error. And I always tell my team like there's a difference between a natural human error and a pattern of behavior. If you're always late, then we have to work on your time management, and I'm here to help you get better, because as a lot of really great artists, they can be very aloof and very, some of your best workers are people who are like always 5 minutes late, and you're like, it's unacceptable because 15 minutes early is on time, 15 minutes, just on time is late, and 15 minutes late is unacceptable. Like just being late is not even an option. So, but I mean, if it happens every so often, because LA is like horrible traffic, for example, like you're not gonna like reprimand someone and waste any time. It's like, let's move on, let's go. If something breaks, if something's forgotten, it's like things that happen because of human error. It's not worth ruining the entire day and also making your employee feel like they're not, there's no space for error. So I think that like team management can make you a great leader, because then okay, like, how can we do better next time? How did that happen? It's not about who did it, it's how it happened and how you can make sure that you can protect everyone and set everybody up for success. Because a lot of the times with the time management that you're given, some of the really strict budgets you're given, I often do feel like if these errors happen, you just have to remember there are certain scenarios where you are set up for failure, but you just happen to succeed because you don't have the budget to do this, but you just figure out how to do it because you've been doing it for so long that you know who to call, you know how to get it done, you know how to make it yourself, you know? So it's like there's a lot of things that as a key department head, you have to have the back of every single person in your team. So that way, you know, okay, if anything happens, like it can fall on me and I can pick up the slack. And then I can make these crazy promises to directors and be like, yeah, we will have like that prop you just wrote into the script yesterday because I know how to make it. You know, I'm not going to even bother my prop master. Like I'll just do that because I want it to be the best that it can be. That's a sick idea you had. We can't afford it. But like, because the background that we have and the skill set that we have, you might be like, you know what I do? I used to do graphics. It's not technically right for me to do it because, you know, in the union, everyone, like she said, everybody has their titles. But there's times where you like pick up certain things so that your team can have that breather and you kind of like support everybody. But yeah, there's a lot of like also under promising and over delivering. You know, there's a little bit of like, I don't know, like there's a little bit of customer service that goes into working with so many people, and especially in my world, like commercials. You know, you don't only have the director to be make happy; you have the agency that represents the client, and then you have the client. So then I've worked on shows where it was developing a show and it was a video game, so all of our props were in the video game. So then the engineers had to approve the props. I mean, you could have 15 people looking at what you're doing, and you just have to sort of like kind of have a great attitude and take all the criticism and all the compliments with a grain of salt, even the compliments. You know, you can't get a big head. You can be like, okay, great, you like it, I love it, moving on. You know, so it's a lot of managing and also, like you said, like you want to make something cool too. So you're like, what about me? What did I even want out of this set design? Because at the end of the day, you're like, I just want everybody to feel happy and it's a safe space to work in.
And now for the fun question. What is everybody's favorite part of what you do?
I think for me, it starts at the very beginning, actually. There's a lot of fun parts of what we do. But I think for me personally, the thing that I enjoy the most is, say in commercials, once you've had that conversation with the director and you know what the creative is, and you're kind of just given, you know, the alone time to come up with what you want to design. And I kind of go into a bit of a meditative state, to be honest, and like, you know, I have to have my space and I start the research. And I do a variety of different research. It's, you know, there are times, sorry guys, there are times where I actually like to start downtown in the library, in the huge library, like most, even with commercials, like we did a Louis Vuitton commercial and I literally sat in the library for about 3 days, just researching Louis Vuitton, researching fashion, researching different props and furniture that were made by people of the same era of Louis Vuitton. And I don't know if it's because of part of my human nature or who I am or being a little bit, neurodiverse, but I tend to really fixate and I can go down a rabbit hole and I enjoy going down that rabbit hole. And it actually creates more detail and more interesting sets and more interesting pieces. So I really enjoy that beginning time where you really are just designing everything about the production. If I can just real quick, I know we're short on time, but like I also really love working with my crew, you know, and having a crew that gets you and like being like a family and being just like, you know, that once you've got your design down and you've briefed people, they just get it. And, you know, no one's afraid to make mistakes. No, there are no mistakes. There's just questions and just like we said, moving on and, okay, we did that. Great. Let's, okay, that's an issue. Let's figure it out, you know? So there's that part that the camaraderie and working as a really great team together, that is priceless. That's like your second family or your first family if you don't have, you know, kids at home. So those two things I think are the most enjoyable for me. working with directors, they're okay. Yeah.
So for me, I think just having in architectural thinking, we used to get a brief. In a script is sort of a brief. So the minute we read it, figuring out characters, if the character is written in a certain way, why? What would that person be? So I like really sort of like being the person. I'm like, okay, maybe I like these kind of flowers today, or like, what would that person or that character in a film or a TV show actually do? How would they decorate their home? How would they, what colors resonate to them? I think one very good thing that we learned in CalArts was also like one of our classes was, what do colors make you feel? So we were all given like chits of colors, and you had to describe your color, and everybody else around you had to guess it. So I think that was such a fun exercise because colors do make you feel something. Purple might feel royal, but it might also feel icky. Green is usually for disgust, but it's also nature and bright and happy. So if you want to make something bright and colorful, that's also green. So I think that's one of my favorite parts. Again, like that's before everything, all the logistics come in and how are we going to do this part. But just figuring out who the person is in the story and how I become the person sort of in my lifestyle, or how I can see what the room's going to be like, what the phone cover is going to be like. Just thinking about every single detail is one of my favorite things to do. And figuring out a solution. So like we always run into problems. There's always going to be, like everybody said, like there's human error. There's no room for who did this, why did they do this, why are we not, there's no room for blame game. It's always, how do we figure this out to move on from this? And I think that sort of is it's an adrenaline. Once you're done with the designing, you know that this is what we're doing. But then now to achieve it, there are going to be hiccups at every moment. And then just figuring out that hiccup is sort of an adrenaline for me. I'm like, oh my God, I figured it out. Great. This is great. Yeah, two of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, for me, yeah, it depends on the project. When it comes to when Miranda and Rashi were saying, like if you work in commercials, you have a prompt more, more a specific prompt of what you need to do, or what the path is going to be, and in that case, like getting into the research process is very enriching. I love like start researching. It's true, you can get in that rabbit hole of references and images and different type of resources and sources where you can find more creativity and inspiration. But then when it comes to TV, film, you're reading the script, and reading between the lines it's very enriching for me, and I enjoy that a lot. Like when you're breaking down a script and making those questions, like Rashi was saying, like trying to understand or imagine the backstory of each character, where do they come from and what do they have in their spaces, how do you create their own worlds, and getting into the very little details, like if they have like a little picture from their grandma or something like that, or if you're, prepping a diary, well, like what sort of like stickers if it has, or like decoration, why would it be like that? If they have a pen or a pencil, if it has like little, is it short, is it long, all those details that tell us about the personality of the characters, and reading between the lines with tons of questions that came up after reading a script and have that dialogue with the director. It's something that I enjoy a lot. So that in that part of the creative process, I feel like the starting point, or where we're going to start creating the vision, it's what I enjoy the most. And then also a little bit before we end up prepping the set, when the entire crew is like setting up, set dressing and stuff like that, when everybody's together there, having fun together and working together, I think I enjoy that a lot too. Yeah.
My favorite is, I just love a really good collaboration. I always say that I'm more of an interpreter than like, I'm a creative person, but I like to like run with someone else's idea. I think a lot of people who are creatives that we work with too, like will have an idea of something that they want, but they can't explain it and they can kind of see it, but they can't figure that out. And so like when I get something from a designer, or like that's like I did this napkin doodle and I'm like, I know exactly what to do. If I just have a blank screen, I kind of freak out. But if there's like a concept, like an idea there, and then I like just like pull it out of their head and like turn it into something real, and like they get so excited and they're like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly what I was trying to do. It's what I wanted. I think that part for me is like really satisfying. And then also seeing it come to life, like seeing it like on a billboard or on we did like I did graphics for the theaters in Westwood, and we did like every single movie poster was mine, and then the marquee on both the theaters across the street were mine, and just like seeing them in real life was really cool. And then also seeing other people, like the producers and the directors, like taking pictures with it, like them being excited. I was just like, okay, I did a good job. Like that satisfaction of like other people's approval is like priceless. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my favorite part is very similar to everybody's. I think the deep dives researching that you do for especially period pieces. I just did a 1995 like horror film, and we got to do teenage bedrooms, which is my personal fave because I always feel like they can come out really, really cool and like with so much character, or they could look really corny, like whoever designed this never was a teenager in their life, like like, or you know, they make like fake band or fake pop star posters that look so fake it's like jarring, like you can't, it's all you stare at some like fake Britney Spears poster, it's like some random girl. So yeah, that was a lot of fun because I got to like look up like all the toys that I grew up like playing with, and I was like, wow, I can't believe Tamagotchi was 1998. I guess we can't do that. Dang, you know, like that was so much fun. Yeah, Furby too. It was too new. But yeah, that was the most fun, doing all the research and then assigning like just I love color theory, and the same like, you know, what colors make you feel and what they represent, and assigning a color to each character, and then working closely with the wardrobe designer and making sure that, you know, we never, unless it's necessary for the story, but we never have like a person in a green outfit sitting on a green couch, you know, like you have to like work with the wardrobe designer and create like little Easter eggs that are on their like wardrobe that kind of like tell like, you know, a subliminal story, like a second or third storyline that's either on their person or in their room. That to me is so much fun, and just like bringing the script to life and adding so many more layers to it. And, you know, like I did like a collage on their binder, and like I folded like little love notes that are like in the shape of a heart. From back in the day, we used to write notes for the young people. Yeah, it was old school with gel pens, pen and paper. It was crazy. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And yeah, I love period pieces. I love doing all the research. Naturally just a very curious person. I think all of us have to be in this industry. And yeah, and then once that, you know, once you're putting it all together and then the DP comes in and does their magic and you see it for the first time on the monitor, you're like, that was magic. Because you just first saw it on a script, you broke it down and you imagined this character. And it's also exciting for the first time to see the casting, because then you imagine this person in your head, and then when you see it and they get it straight on, you're like, that's exactly the person I had imagined. That's crazy. So it is so much of this is so magical that it is actually addicting, I think, because you're creating these worlds. Yeah. So I think that's my favorite for sure. Least favorite is accounting, sitting down and doing that. Yeah.
Paperwork.
Definitely did not know it would be a part of my job. Yeah. Receipts, hate receipts. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely use a lot of accounting in our job. But at this point, for the last half hour of our panel, we'd like to open it up to any audience questions. So if you have a question, come on up, grab the microphone, and we'll give it an answer. I can also bring the microphone to you if you'd rather.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Corinne, makeup artist and skincare therapist and journalist, so watch what you say. But we have been watching what you say. We have been watching what you say. It's a remarkable thing, and I was so glad that you didn't cut anybody off at their introduction. That was so generous of you, because we needed the whole story, the orangutan, everything. I had the pleasure and privilege of working the press table at your Oscar event 2 years ago in the high rise when Nicole was there and Baz and everybody. And the logistics was that when you come up this exotic escalator, the press table was right there. So it was international press, and we had to greet them and make sure they got their IDs and stuff. So everybody else had to go to another location to get their tickets. So I was privy to everybody coming in because they thought this was the table. So it was just a remarkable event. And having worked other events and doing things in the business a little bit, I said, this is a different group of people. This is the most fun. There was some kind of interesting link, a camaraderie. I couldn't put my finger on it. The question is, could you please speak to that camaraderie among art directors?
Anybody want to jump in and take it?
Oh yeah, we're all super weirdos. We're like, oh, did you see that wallpaper? And like patterns and like all kind of, but I found such an because I'm like going to school, like whatever. I never had this community that I have now. Like I have so many friends that are graphic designers, which is like, it's so much fun because we can just like nerd out on like dumb stuff that other people do not care about. And I think just being able to have those conversations is so much fun because it's like, I mean, a lot of times, I mean, we all can attest to this, that like when you work on something, you work on it yourself. Like you're the only production designer. Art directors sometimes can have multiple, but if you're a supervisor, it's like, it's just you. So when we get to talk to each other and hang out with each other and have those conversations about that weird stuff that no one else notices, is like, it's so good. It's really great. I think that really bonds us.
I think like everything she said, and then adding to that, I think the group of people that we're working with, because we're so hands-on and our department is so hands-on, all of us love being hands-on. Even as the head of department, you want to go and touch the curtain, and you want to go and like eat the weird cupcake, or like see if it's proper food or whatever. And just having that, but having that within, and you're always a team of 10 to 15 people. So moving here, like me being I'm not from here, but some of my closest friends from here, we just got married in Bali. They all flew down. I had like a crew. I had my whole crew there for my wedding earlier this year. And I know that all of us have also not had the best years with the strike and with work and everything. So I feel like working with the people and creating that family around you automatically happens in that department, because we're all weirdos and we do notice I'll always see if there's a bad, I mean, I'm not able to see anything here, but I would see it, and then my art director would see it, or my set deck would see it, and I'm like, yeah, but they don't know. But we know, but they don't know. Can we like turn the mic a little bit once you're looking at, and it's only us who see these things, and that's what we sort of connect on. Like we all love what we do, we all care for what we do, and then we also like each other to hang out later on as well.
Yeah.
Very, very important to like your people around you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's beautiful to see how when you connect with your crew and your colleagues, everything goes but beyond the set. It becomes, like as Rashi was saying, like your friends, your family as well. You spend so much time with these people, working, collaborating, talking about the same things. You share, things that you're interested in, and that goes beyond it. And everybody helps each other, like even like in this past year situation, with the strikes and everything, like everybody asking each other, like if you're okay, if you're like, if you need help, you need to talk to somebody, and even in the union, like our reps are always, caring and asking constantly how we are, if we need help with something, even when we're looking for extra jobs or recommending each other, we're looking after each other after being just on set. It's great how like being on set and working too much like with people that you are kind of alike, it just becomes a family.
I also just wanted to add that at work, we never talk about work. We're also like that one department. If you're sitting with camera or G&E, they're always talking in numbers and lights and about. And I'm just like, what are you saying? Like, what are you talking? And we're just talking about, did you watch this movie? I'm watching Breaking Bad right now. I'm noticing all the colors. We're just talking about those kind of things versus talking about the work at work.
I think artists make really interesting people, and I think we are a department of artists, and even though you're talking about Breaking Bad and the colors, that's still work.
So good.
It's still work though. It's ingrained in us, right? Most other departments, they're all pretty technical, and we are we're kind of like a department on our own. They're kind of Grips, even though they all have their own departments, it feels like the art department is definitely sort of like a subset somehow. And we're artists, and artists make interesting people. So I think, and along with that, I think quite honestly, I think the climate that we've really kind of changed actually at the Guild is that of community, is that of supporting each other. And I think we're continuing to make a community at the union that just gets better and better. So, we're learning to reach out to people, to help each other, to, quite often if you're shooting in a different state or a different country, you'll call a different production to go, hey, who's your crew? Can you help me? Like, I'm trying to do this. And we do lean on each other, even though we don't see each other in the department all the time. So I think the Guild has really helped to foster that sense of community much more today, I think, than it used to be. It used to be a lot smaller, so we've got more members, but we're still like a tight-knit community of weirdo artists. So I think that makes for interesting people.
And I will add, just because it's nothing but ladies up here, is we are a very small number as far as like key department heads go, and usually G&E is predominantly men, camera, cinematographer. So I think it's really powerful that we are in a position of a key department head, and we are like in a place to hire more women too and fill sort of that like unofficial quota. So for me, like I definitely like to hire a lot of women of color, and then also like just making sure that our mental health is being taken care of, and that it's long hours, 12 minimum, and then after that then it's overtime. So it's like they're really long days. You're away from family and friends. So some people are in different countries, like United States is not their home, and they're in a different state. So you have to make sure it's like a safe space, and that you do build that family bond, so that people feel like, okay, it was worth coming out here and following my dreams, because at least I'm working for somebody who cares about my well-being, like first as a person, then as an artist. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, I do love being one of these weirdos. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, question first. So, being a father of somebody that's in the industry, and sitting back and kind of watching a lot of different things, I have a lot of respect for what you guys do just being on set. And I've watched some of the craziest things on set, painting 2 minutes before they get ready to start filming because the color didn't work, or watching them rip out tile out of the kitchen because the tile didn't work inside the kitchen. Do you guys find it, and can you expand on from concept idea to say like bedroom as you were explaining, to final production, and how that really kind of plays out of this is the idea we had, and now when I see it kind of like in front of the camera, this didn't work, and how that expands out to the audience, especially for somebody that watches the movie, realizing, go, just like you said, this product wasn't in 1998. I know for a fact as I'm watching it, and you catch that in movies all the time. So how do you guys, navigate around all that?
I think that comes a lot with the collaborating and the pre-production process. That usually, shouldn't take you to that spot where you need to like break the tile when you're on set. What we usually do is and personally, I know a lot of these guys do as well. We model the set and we show the design with concept ideas, and drawings and everything. How is it gonna look? How actually it's gonna look, even like lit up and everything. So we're all on the same page, and we're all agreeing that this is what it's going to be seen and we're going to be constructing, you know. There is a process where after the research and the pitch that we do to the director, you know, and we start a conversation of like, this is how it should look or how we would like it to look, you know. There start like multiple conversations where the design, like the first draft, it starts evolving, you know, and changing multiple times until we get the green light to start constructing, you know. But it varies, I guess. Like it also happens, you know, and there's different productions where they have less time and less budget and maybe less resources where you can find those situations. I would try not to because also like in terms of budget. But again, like if you end up in one of those situations, I guess we as we all said already, like we'll try to fix it, you know. We'll try to figure it out.
I was just gonna say really quickly, sometimes you work with directors who tell you like, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. So you have to sort of do this little song and dance for them, where I love a director. So usually you would think like we want to have full autonomy, and like some directors will be like, I trust you, I hired you because I like your design style, just go for it, I have enough on my plate, like I trust you. I actually don't like that. I like a director who's like extremely obsessive to every detail, and they're like, blue, but this shade of periwinkle blue, and I'm like, yes. Like I love obsessiveness because then I know that like that is a person who has such a clear vision, and I could take that, manifest it, make it, and then elevate it, and it's like so like peaceful knowing that this person is not going to waver because they've been obsessing over this one image they have for who knows how long now. But the people who are like, yeah, maybe, let me see, and I'm like, how do you have yes or no? Like we don't, yeah. And these are sometimes seasoned directors or somebody who did one big thing millions of years ago, and they keep getting these jobs because they're like, oh, he won an Oscar 50 years ago or something. Like I don't know. And it's like, it's always, yeah. So it's like, and then they don't know, like, you know, the hurry up and go, because like not every you know project has a big budget enough to afford the song and dance of like, what about this shade or that shade, or what about these tiles, you know. It's like you have to do like a 3D model or a SketchUp or something to be like, you have to choose this. We will not be ripping out the kitchen towel on the day, you know. So, and also a good producer to have your back. The producer could be the bad guy. So be friends with your producer and be like, I love that idea. You know what? We should rip out the kitchen tile. Let me just go talk to Joe from production and see. And then he could be the bad guy and be like, you're crazy. We're not doing this. Roll the camera. You know, so that is also your best friend.
But also, oh, sorry. I was like, that tile thing could have been the director was like, we won't see that wall. Yeah. We won't see, we're not going to shoot that way. And then they said that 15 times, and you're like, okay, are you sure? Are you sure? And they're like, oh, let's go over there. Let's do that. And then you're like, we have to pull the tile up from over here and then put it over there. So that kind of stuff happens all the time. They always, we're not going to see that street. We're not going every single time. Oh, let's go over there.
And a lot of times I feel they also miss seeing it on your drawing. It's happened with me before, where I've given them a whole SketchUp of something where I have wood on the walls, wood paneling on the walls, and they're like, actually we want stone. I'm just like, you saw a SketchUp like a week ago. And then I'm like budgeting, they're like, so how much more money? It always comes down to that. So how much more money to do this in like 6 hours? I'm like, I'll give them a number, and somehow they always have it. They always have it. They don't want to give it in the start, but they have it. If they really do want something, and they request it at the end moment, and you go to them with a crazy number, they will be like, yeah, sure, do it. It's happened quite a few times. We all of us try to avoid it, and we try to not. But it is one of those things where you're like, are you sure you're never going to see the wall? Are you sure we're not going to have to move this from there to there? But it happens. And I think just what we do the best, one of the most important things is don't stress. It's just a film. Like one of my friends told me this early on when I was starting out. I was running for something, and they were like, we're about to shoot. We want to do this. Like, where is the prop? And I was running, and he's like, Rashi, you're going to be a minute late. It's fine. You have to be safe. Don't stress. And I usually don't stress too. I'm like, if I stress, it automatically affects my director. Then it's a domino effect. It affects every single person. So we just got to figure it out. And we are pretty good at figuring it out on the spot as well. We have a solution to things. If you don't like the tile, I probably have a vinyl that I can cover the tile with in my kit. That's why you give me a kid fee, because it's right there in the truck. So I think we always do find silly. We're one department which rolls with the punches, and we try to do it with you. We try to do it as much as
And we get a
possible.
lot of punches.
We do get a lot of punches. We do get a lot of punches.
We do. And I think more often than not, and just to add to what everybody said, is that it's not usually because we haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
It's usually, I just have to speak to like communication. And, maybe the director might want something, and I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I like a director that's pretty direct, but also doesn't fixate, like it has to be this blue or, but I also think it's really important to go talk to your DP, go talk to your key grip, like make sure that this doesn't need to be a wild wall, make sure that what are we gonna see? And sometimes the DP might have a different idea from the director. So you wanna get everybody on the same page, even if that's not scheduled or your AD's not doing that. Pick up the phone and call those people yourself, to find out what you are actually doing. I always say, like, it's more important to just ask those annoying questions than to be afraid that you're asking too many questions, because quite often it's like, no, can you see that stone? Is it stone that you want? Are you sure? This is, out of all of it, you're sure it's A and not B, right? So
You have
communication.
to
Over communicate. That's it.
And then also you can also talk to the DP sometimes and be like, can you just pan down a little? Can you just can you not look off the ceiling instead of me adding a ceiling just a little bit, just a little, And they can do it usually, but somehow we ask them.
They always want a ceiling, like
Yeah.
the day of.
No, can you just not?
No, I don't just have a ceiling. What do you mean?
All right, we're approaching the end of our time. So if each of our panelists could say where we can find more about you or see some of your work, and then maybe a piece of advice for someone who wants to do what we do.
So I have a website, mirandacristofani.com. I'll spell that for you. No, I'm just kidding. You can see me on the brochure or the website for the film festival. I think advice I would say is be persistent. Just really be persistent. If you've got an idea that this is what you want to do, this is the department for you, reach out to as many people that you might know in the film industry, even if they're not in art department, and just say, this is what I want to do. Do you know somebody? And I always tell people that want to get into this industry, I don't care if you bug me, just keep on emailing me, keep on reminding me, say that you want a PA, and, just tell me every time you're available, because I might not always get back to you, but the time you are emailing me and I'm like, oh my God, I need a PA. Oh, this person just emailed me. That is the way to get in. So I would suggest that. And I would also say, do not take anything personally. I think we're working on it, but this has been a very toxic industry for a long time. I think don't take any abuse, don't get that wrong, but just don't take it personally. Just keep on your vision in the back of your head, know where you want to go, and, keep on persisting to try and get there.
And then to add to that, have a positive attitude. I think it's so important. You can be so good at your job, but if you're not good to be around, I wouldn't hire you. So a good attitude towards everything is so important. Doesn't mean that let people walk all over you. But I think if you're eager to learn, there's nothing. I'm still learning. All of us are still learning. We learn every single day on a job. We find out. Every single day I learn something new and I get excited about it. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know. I didn't know that this existed. But I think just wanting to work hard shows. And that's all. I'm like, if you keep doing it and you just being persistent, exactly what she said. But also just have a positive attitude. Very important. I have a website. I have an Instagram, Rashi _designs. IMDb. email. I usually try to respond to everyone because I also cold email a lot of people. So I try to respond to every cold email that I get. So email is a great way. And again, same thing, that be persistent. You might just message me at the right time and I might just need you at that time. So
Yeah. Yeah, what they're saying, being persistent, you can never be aggressive enough, I mean, with respect, obviously. But yeah, and then just something to add as well, like listen to your body, this is a very demanding industry and a very demanding career. There's no job that is more important than your health. So I think it's very important to listen to your body when you're tired, you're working over hours and stuff like that. Call someone, let them know that you're tired. Don't drive if you're, on a night shoot and you're tired. Try to be safe. Always try to be safe. And then where you can find me, my website or Instagram as well. All my usernames, even my website is vaneplazalazo.com or just Vane Plaza Lazo. And yeah.
I'm mostly on the Instagrams all the time. At Sarah Designing Things. And my website is Sarah Designs Things, but the Sarah Designs Things was already taken for Instagram. So designing, anyways, but you can, Sarah with an H, you can Google me. Yeah, I definitely cold emailing people. I found like cold emailing people that I look up to, and persistence, but it's also like, think of it less of persistence or like, oh no, what if I'm annoying them? The thing to really remember is like, you're just reminding people that you exist. Because we're super busy. Everything is so fast. Like work gets crazy. And in between time, if like you said, if you catch me at the right time in between, like I try to answer emails too, but also I'm very forgetful, like I said. But just like reminding people that you exist, I think. And when you're available, if you have somebody that you really want to work with or work for or whatever, saying like, hey, once a month, check in. Hi, I just updated my website. Like, here's the projects that I've worked on since we last spoke. I think that's really helpful because then they can constantly see what you're up to when they do have time to look and respond. One piece of advice, I think I already said that, persistence, reminding people you exist. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, one piece of advice I would say is definitely persistence. Don't be afraid to fail. It's always kind of embarrassing in the beginning when you start a career and you're just like, I'm in the film industry, and people are like, no, you're not. Because everybody has to start somewhere, and just have like a work-life balance, and also show yourself grace. You're gonna have, if you really want longevity in this career, just know that this is a career that people don't really have an age to retire. They're like still making films in like 70s and 80s. So if you think of that, and if you think of that relative to how old you are today, like you have their whole life ahead of you to like get this dream going. So I think just like take mental health breaks in between and listen to your body, and find that work balance between that like hustling in the beginning, because you have to really get your name out there. But if you need to take a break and, be a waitress for a little bit, you can also do that. No one's going to take this dream away. You'll wake up one day and be like on an art director's panel, and how did I get here? So yeah, I'll say that. And then where to find me? AstridAndersonDesign.com. I'm also on the Instagram sometimes, Mood Texture Design. And yeah, I always like to answer emails. You will not bug me. I see it as a huge compliment, so please email me.
And you can see me on Instagram at W Knight Morrison Design. If you want to message me and chat about anything, I'm open to that as well. And my Instagram also has a link to my website if you want to see more. My one piece of advice would be that whatever you're interested in, whatever you're doing outside of this career, sort of goes in the brain machine and comes out as perspective and voice and creativity. So be interested in stuff, and do stuff. Somehow balance that with, everything else that everyone has told you to do. It's been wonderful having you guys. Thank you very much.